All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show on Onebar with Lupagus. Once again, we got Justin from the Purple Persuasion joining us for news and nuggets weekly, becoming one of my favorite episodes of the week. And this week was chock full of news and nuggets. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, you must have been busy as hell. How was your week? And I mean, was it just constantly checking your phone and everything and trying to keep everything updated?
Yeah, it was, man, what an exciting week it was. You know, it took a lot of time to keep up with everything. It seems like, you know, you put your head down at night or something pops up. You wake up in the morning, there's some action going on 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, every hour. But yeah, this week was very busy for us. But hopefully we captured most of it all and enjoyed bringing the content this week.
Yeah, and the Purple Persuasion, was it this week? You guys went over 3,000 followers on Twitter? Or was it last week?
Yeah, it was a few days ago, I think, but it's the growth is pretty crazy right now, but this week was pretty special too. So with all the news, but yeah, we're over 3,200 right now and almost to 3,300 actually. It's pretty sweet. So thank you for everybody for following us and for your support. We really appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Links will be down in the description. Give them a follow if you haven't. Also sign up for that weekly newsletter. It's fantastic. Boom, boom, boom. But let's I mean, Lupagus, I mean, we all know the big news, so let's just kind of dive into some of the smaller stuff. Like, I mean, as far as all the free agent moves this week, let's start with the worst one for you, Justin. What was the worst free agent signing by the Vikings?
Yeah, there really hasn't been like a train wreck of a signing. You know, we're not spending a lot of money right now. It's, you know, either bargain, you know, depth pieces or, you know, they made a couple splashes on day one there, which was pretty sweet. But if I had a pin to, it's probably the Feeney move yesterday with the interior O-line. And he's got a cool mullet. I love him, but if you look him up, he's not very good. So, you know, maybe, you know, hopefully he's not starting on day one. And I don't think he's a Reisner replacement for anything like that. So for those that are worried, I wouldn't worry about that. And the Sherfield move, I'm not real excited about either. But, you know, with them re-signing Powell, you know, he's probably not going to see the field too much. Seems like he's more of a run blocker. But his last year, his run blocking wasn't great either. So I don't know. They're not real train wreck signings. But if I had to, you know, put one or two down, those would be my choices.
Yeah, Sherfield, they got Sherfield as the third receiver on their depth chart right now. Brandon Powell is on the next column over. Our lads, anyways, however we want to take that. But I was surprised.
The season starts.
I would think he'd be 4, but all right. So what are some of the best moves in your opinion that the Vikings did this week?
Yeah, I'm real excited. My favorite one was Aaron Jones. He's a stud. I think just from every time you play him, it seems like he just ran right over us, 125 plus yards, multiple touchdowns. You know, he did have a kind of a down season last year with a lot of injuries. But I think with his upside, I think he really wants to play for us just so he can stick it to the Packers for, you know, asking him to take a pay cut. So I think that's my favorite one. Have had him on fantasy for a couple of years. I know him pretty well, and he's good. And I think that's what we need to kind of boost our running game. And, you know, Van Ginkel, Cashman, Grenard, I loved all those 3 signings right off the bat on day one. Van Ginkel is a stud. He is underrated. You know, he wasn't a full-time player, but he can play outside linebacker. He can play inside linebacker. And I think Flores is just going to unleash him and his versatility that he has and his flexibility on the defense. So those kind of 3-4 would be my favorite for this week.
Biggest name the Vikings were in on that we missed out on. So Vikings were in on sniffing around. And who was the biggest name that we missed on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all can kind of pin it. You know, we know our defensive tackle pass rush is not great, and they did let a couple go. So I think Christian Wilkins was a big miss, but I think with how Kwesi's planning this offseason, it makes a lot more sense, you know, at this point of kind of free agency. But on day one, when we missed out on him, I was pretty bummed out, but I think that's probably the biggest name. But I don't think Kwesi was going for and 110 million. I think that was definitely priced out of our price range with the Raiders getting him. But I think that was kind of a bummer when we missed out on him.
Any idea how there was rumors the Vikings were involved in trying to get Brian Burns at first there? Did you hear anything about that and maybe what they're willing to give up for him?
Yeah, I think they inquired. I mean, I think the Vikings have been pretty active. You know, they checked in on Snead too, but there's been kind of some action with the Colts this morning, I think it sounds like. But I think they've checked in on a lot of these guys. But I think, you know, I'm not saying Kwesi's cheap in the grand scheme of things, but I think he's at a certain threshold that I think he really wants to load up in 2025 and 2026 to fill the kind of the holes that we're going to have. But Yeah, they definitely did check in on Burns. They weren't going with what the Giants paid for him too. So it's, I think it was, we're interested, but we're only going to this level. Same thing with Kirk. And, I think they really stuck to that.
Nice. So let's talk the big trade from yesterday morning. Of course, I wasn't on my phone when the news broke and it was going crazy, and finally got to figure out what happened. But who are we taking? Who are we moving up for? Is it May? Is it McCarthy? Or God, are we just going to have 2 first-round picks and not move up?
Yeah. There's a little steam on that this morning a little bit. I threw it out there and, see what people had to think about it. I think most Vikings fans and myself, I wouldn't be too worried. I think they are going to move up. I think their jobs are kind of on the line this season. You don't just let Kirk go and have all this drama with Justin Jefferson. And, I think they're really going to move up and get their guy. I would say May is probably their favorite. I think if they had to rank them, I think May is 1A maybe. And then I would put McCarthy as 1B. From a realistic perspective, I do think, obviously the Bears are going to go Caleb Williams. And I 100% agree with them trading Sam Howell this week that they're going to go Jaden Daniels at 2. But I do think the trade probably won't happen until draft day. I think they're going to see how the board goes. I would lean towards them moving up with the Patriots if needed to get May if they're not interested. But I think Arizona's kind of the biggest player right now. Do the Patriots actually stay put at 3 and actually go Marvin Harrison Jr.? That is an option that people aren't really talking about too much, but then means Arizona would be a great fit because they could still get a top guy if they wanted. Giants are kind of sneaky, so I think Vikings are going to have to pay attention with them at 6. So that's probably the biggest threat to them. But if I had to rank them, it's May and McCarthy are your top 2 guys, and I think they'd be okay with both.
Yeah, what would be your reaction? They trade up to 3, and they take McCarthy.
If they're trading up for 3, I think they're going to go May at that point. I think he's a perfect fit for what KOC wants to run. Kind of have some steam a little bit on, I think KOC really likes McCarthy. I think Kwesi wants May a little bit, but they both fit. And we'll see what happens if there's a kind of I wouldn't say a disconnect or any dysfunction. I think there's maybe some more digging in to do. They're going to be going to both of their pro days. McCarthy's is next Friday, I believe. And then the following Thursday is Drake May in North Carolina's pro day. So I think maybe they'll iron things out over these next couple of weeks here. And then I think they'll kind of see how the board goes on draft day.
As a Viking fan, would you be pissed if they took McCarthy over May?
No, I would be. I like them both. I think they're both great fits. I kind of like JJ a little bit better. I think he's only a few months younger. They're both only 21 years old. I think there's so much untapped talent, I think, with McCarthy and just what he's done in his career. And, he doesn't throw a whole lot. So I think there's just a whole nother level that he can get to. And it'll be exciting to see what they do. But I think, Alec Lewis put out that they adore Drake May, and I don't think that's any smoke or anything. I think they really do like him a lot. So I think they'll just kind of see how the board goes and then make the move on draft day. But, if they go to 3, that would be a, pre-draft day move because then they would be guaranteed one of those top 3 quarterbacks.
Nice. Well, no matter what we do, no matter what Kwesi says, these Justin Jefferson trade rumors just keep showing up on Twitter. What is the dumbest one you've seen out there?
They all are.
Oh, they're all dumb because he's not getting traded, but that's fun to talk about and whatever. But some of them are just straight up preposterous, and it's just crazy that there were like one today I read where the Bears were going to give up their first overall pick so we could get Caleb Williams, and we'd give them 11, 23 and JJ. That's way undervalued in my opinion.
God.
Yeah.
And before the trade, we got the Texans pick. Yeah, I saw one on the Bengals would give us T. Higgins and the Bengals 1 and 2, and I don't want T. Higgins, man. He's not even on Justin Jefferson's level. And I think if they were ever to trade him, I think they don't even pick up the phone unless it's 3 first round picks. And otherwise, that's just to get the conversations going from my perspective. Once in a generational talent, you don't just hand that off for 2 first round picks.
Yeah, that Bears one is absolutely insane. Let's talk about a Viking that hasn't been signed yet. Poor KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne is Austin Schlottman's getting signed.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Dye's getting signed. KJ Osborne just hanging out, not getting signed. What have you seen any teams interested in KJ Osborne?
No, I'm actually pretty shocked about it. It's been stone cold silent. I've done a lot of digging around and I haven't gotten anything from him. He did post on social media, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, of him working out and, trying to pump himself up of why he trying to sell himself to a team. I really do think he's trying to get that, that big bag, his first big contract. So he might be taking his time and kind of seeing what, maybe post-draft signing of how maybe a team that wants a wide receiver didn't get one. He'll be signed eventually, but I don't think he's definitely not coming back to the Vikings. I think it's that ship has sailed. But don't rule out Atlanta. I wouldn't, him and Kirk had a good connection. So I wouldn't be too shocked if I saw that he was signing with the Falcons and they loading up on that offense.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense. So what do you think the Vikings' next move is going to be? Who will be the next man in purple?
God, I'm so nervous.
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people are asking me if I got anything on Reisner or what I'm seeing. Personally, I don't think he's going to be back, at least right now. I think he's got that guard and center market's pretty crazy. People are like, oh, bring him back, or day 5 of wanting Reisner back, people posting and all that kind of stuff. And I think he's got that market's pretty high, and I think Kwesi's not going to go there. And I wouldn't rule out Blake Brandel as our left guard going into the season, but we'll see. I think if they were going to make a move, it's going to be nothing splashy. I think Kwesi's really valued those 2 comp picks for next year, those 2/3. I think that's why he made that trade with the Texans, because I think he's okay with giving up a future second in replace of the 2/3 that we'll get. But all we need is Reisner or KJ Osborne to be signed, and we'll get those 2 comp picks in the 3rd round. So that's part of the reason why I don't think they're going to be signed in anything super splashy. But if they do make a move, maybe a cornerback depth or, something like that. But it's going to be, those Feeney signings and Sherfields. They're not going to be super exciting, but that's kind of where I lean towards.
I've already convinced myself that I'm preparing myself that Blake Brandel will be our starting left guard.
I think so too.
From week 1.
And they kind of gave him a little more money than just kind of the average. It's not like full starter price. They could easily not start him and it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it was definitely a nice pay raise for him. And that's why I kind of lean towards Reisner not being back. And I really think Kwesi's already budgeted those 2 comp picks that he's playing for next year.
Blake Brandel. All right. Once again, Justin from the Purple Persuasion, quick and dirty this week as we rip through those news and nuggets. As always, greatly appreciate it. Hit those links down in the description. Go give him a follow on Twitter. Sign up for that newsletter.
Appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah,
appreciate all the stuff you put out too. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Enjoy.